So you finally got a business idea. Awesome. Pat yourself in the back and now it's time to conquer the world. Well, not really. You have to do some paperwork. Hi, I am Ian, and I will try to answer life's most pressing questions for entrepreneurs like you. So when do you know that you're running a full-blown business? When do things get real? Is it when you make your 100th sale? When you get 50,000 followers? Or when you get your 30th sponsor? If you ask me, it's when you get legit. Like legal, lawyerly, boring, legit. Okay, here's the lowdown. The legal basics of entrepreneurship isn't that flashy. There are no discussions on what's your big business idea or how do I wipe the floor with the competition. But I guarantee you, there's still an adventure to choose from. Choosing your business structure opens the door for different storylines, all with their own twists and turns. You're basically the main character and the business your plot. Okay, let's start with the fundamentals. Unless you're otherwise employed by someone else, you might need to register your business. Why? Because the government needs to know that you exist and you're not just some figment of someone else's imagination. Registering allows you to get a license and pay taxes, even if you don't like to pay taxes. Which brings me to the question, what business structure should you use? Well, the answer really depends on what you want to do. But let me try to guide you. There are many types of business organizations recognized in the country, but I want to focus on 3 of the most widely recognized business entities used by new entrepreneurs like you. These are sole proprietorships, partnerships, and corporations. A sole proprietorship is a type of business that is run and owned by one person. Think freelance writers, independent consultants, or even vloggers. This is pretty straightforward. As a matter of fact, you do not have to even register your business because you're the business as a sole proprietor. Although sometimes it makes sense to register the same with the Department of Trade and Industry, at least with the business name. They have a website for that. Go to the link in the description. So what does this mean then? Well, it's simple. You and your business are the same legal entity. It also means that your income and expenses are filed in your personal tax returns rather than having to file a separate return for yourself and a separate return for your business. Your business money is not separate from your personal money, so to speak. As the sole proprietor, you have complete control over the management and the affairs and the conduct of your business. You are the only one entitled to the share in the profits, pretty dope, and you're the one responsible for your business debts. So what are the advantages of setting up a sole proprietorship? Well, here are a few. Number 1, it's super convenient. There's very little paperwork for you to do to set this one up. Check, however, with your local government units for the specific requirements, if there are any, for sole proprietors like you. Secondly, it's easier to file your income tax return because you're essentially just filing one return for yourself. Number 3, it's easy to write off what you buy as a business expense. New PS5, write it off as a business expense. New Secret Lab gaming chair, write it off as a business expense. New Cannondale Super 6 Evo with DI2 Ultegra group set, write it off as a business expense. Side note, check with your accountant on how to do this. Our friends from Loft have experts who can help you. Ping them quick. And lastly, as I have said earlier, you are your own boss. Unlike other entities which may have governance requirements such as a board of directors, shareholdings, partnership agreements, and whatever articles have you, the business is solely yours. And while that is all well and good, you also need to look at the disadvantages of setting up a sole proprietorship. First, it's really hard to raise funds if you're planning to expand your business. You really can't sell shares to another person as a sole proprietor. But you can share your heart. That's for another video. Number 2, it's really hard to get loans from banks because they tend to perceive that there's a bigger risk lending to individuals rather than to a company or a partnership. And lastly, because you're no separate from your business, you are responsible if you get into any financial or legal trouble. Unlike other entities such as corporations where individuals tend to be shielded from business liabilities incurred by the company, a sole proprietorship takes full legal hit of the financial exposure that the business may take. That's tough. A partnership exists when two or more persons bind themselves to contribute money, property, or industry in a common fund with the intention of dividing the profits among themselves. Okay, that's quite a lot. Let's break that down. There is a partnership when, number one, there are at least two people in it. People, not animals, not corporations, not any other beings. People. Number two, they have to contribute something in it, like money, service, property, industry, or their expertise. And finally, they plan to divide the profit from whatever comes out of it. So basically, a partnership is a way for two or more people to have ownership of the business. If you no longer want to feel alone, this is great. Registering with the Securities and Exchange Commission is necessary when the capital of the partnership is at least 3,000 pesos. There are two different types of partnerships in the Philippines. You have a general partnership and you have a limited partnership. In a general partnership, the business partners share unlimited liability for all the debts and obligations of the business. Basically, you and your business partners share personal liability for the business and all have a say in making the business decisions. On the other hand, limited partnerships are called as such because some partners will have unlimited liability, while the other partners will have liability only equal to the amount of their capital contribution. The general partners are the head honchos who run most of the business, while the limited partners are what their name suggests. Limited. They just get the profits and are liable just to the extent of their own contribution. Ever heard of silent partners? Yep, that's them. They're all just about the money. So what are the perks of setting up a partnership? Number one, it's quite easier to raise funds because banks are more willing to lend funds to business entities like you. Number two, you can get more investments if you are willing to take on some silent limited partners. And finally, you have someone to share with in your business judgments. So you're not alone in this story altogether. On the other hand, you have no autonomy over the business. So if you really want to run it alone, a partnership may not be the best entity setup for you. And secondly, general partners are liable for business decisions and debt of other partners, putting one's personal assets at risk. Corporations are big business vehicles that have completely separate and distinct personality from their owners. Being a separate person, a corporation has its own taxes, profits, and separate liability. Corporations consist of shares. These shares are owned by different individuals or even corporations themselves. These shares are transferable, which makes them easy to raise funds. The mobility of these shares makes corporations such an attractive tool for many businesses. Even if stockholders sell their stocks on the side, your business can just keep chugging along without having to restructure. This is of course not the case when you're a partnership or a sole proprietor. Corporations are the best investment vehicle to use here in the Philippines. If you are a startup and you look to raise capital from investors real soon and real quick, best to set up a corporation. Even so, corporations are such a ton of work, like real paperwork. To build one, just imagine the stuff and the documents that you need to have. You need to have a cover sheet, an articles of incorporation, bylaws, a stock structure, treasurer's affidavit, and more if you're involving foreign ownership. And that, my friend, is a lot. Corporations require extensive record keeping, from minutes to financial statements to tax returns to licensing requirements to operational processes. There's quite a lot to finish in terms of paperwork. Since you want to be focused on the business, it's best to have someone else do this for you, and you need someone you can trust. Side note, Loft can take care of all that for you. Check the link below. Corporations are also vulnerable to double taxes. They have to pay taxes on their own profits before they can distribute these profits to their stockholders, who then have to pay income taxes themselves because they profited from the corporation. Yep, you gotta pay the tax, man. If you're just an investor or a silent partner, you don't gotta worry about management. management of the corporation is centralized to a board of directors. They run the whole hustle and are largely responsible for the success or failure of the company. So, which entity is the best? At the end of the day, it's you who needs to decide. We suggest talking to a lawyer or an accountant to get a more nuanced advice. There are so many things to consider when running a business. Thankfully, our friends from Loft are ready to guide you through the whole decision-making process. Trust me, they take the time to really understand your big business idea before they make you do something else. Feel free to reach them. Link in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!